Hey guys, I'm Kerwin.
And I'm Jeffrey.
And we're the Donis brothers. Kenneth is once again on a property tour, so he's not here. It's our third brother, if you're not aware. We are real estate investors. We buy apartments, and we used to wholesale houses and did one flip, and we had 2 rentals, and now we're buying apartments and helping investors invest passively in the multifamily properties we take down. Today we're talking about identifying our why that's important for every real estate investor to do, and how you can go about doing that to help you accomplish your real estate goals. So starting up, Simon Sinek, he's an author, awesome author. He wrote the book Start With Why, and he advocates for all entrepreneurs and business people to identify their why. And he defines it as the purpose, cause, or belief that drives every one of us. And I think, for us, it's been kind of clear, but I don't know if we ever actually nailed it down until we had some traction and we started actually investing in real estate. But we always kind of understood why we were in real estate and why we were pursuing, starting our own business at all. So
I think the first reason that we got into real estate was obviously because we wanted to have a better life for ourselves, but also for our mother. And then you quickly start to realize that if you can become successful in something like real estate, then you can help other people become successful in other types of avenues. So that's kind of what got us started, but we can kind of dive into how we found our why and then how we can help possibly find your why.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to kind of just provide some context to why it's important to identify your why.
Yeah.
For us, there's been times where things were hard and, things just weren't going as planned, and our why and having that as an anchor helped us navigate those rough waters. There was a time when we were running low on funds and we hadn't gotten our first deal yet in wholesaling. And I was very low on motivation, and I walked up to Kenneth and I just asked him, can you remind me why we're doing this? And that was before I'd identified our why, but then he said to me, we're aiming to retire mom. We want to reach financial freedom. We want to change our family's financial tree. And right there was 3 whys, but the main one that kind of motivated me was seeing my mom work so hard and wanting to retire her. So that was the one that really kept me going. And if things were hard for us, I can only imagine how hard it was for her and is for her. So that's why we kept going despite the ups and downs and the adversity and hardship that we were facing in our real estate journey. Mm-hmm. And so things are going to be hard. Like I said, there are going to be ups and downs as a real estate investor. You're going to lose some deals and you might get burned on an investor call, but knowing what your why is will help you see through that and will help you push through that. Do you agree?
No, I agree 100%. And another thing that it can help you in regards to preventing you from doing is say that there's so many different opportunities coming your way, or you're just maybe having shiny object syndrome where you're seeing all these things that you could be chasing, and you know that at the end of the day, if it doesn't align with what your why is and it's not going to help you get closer to that why, then that's kind of going to help you stay in that path versus going and wasting your time doing something else.
No, I love that. That's so true. It helps you stay focused, and also kind of can help you choose which path is ideal. Not only to help you prevent from getting distracted, but also, like Jeffrey says, there's going to be opportunities that present themselves, and there's so many different. You can be a flipper, you can be a wholesaler, you can be a multifamily investor. For us, when we were wholesaling, we were doing it, and we realized it's very transactional, and you can make good money, but you're not really building wealth as a wholesaler because you don't hold these assets and you're not cash flowing, by holding onto the properties and renting them out. So we always knew that, one of our main whys is retiring our mom, and we wanted to do that through passive income and build wealth for ourselves and our family. So wholesaling didn't align with that, but multifamily investing, specifically apartment syndication, that did. And that's why we chose to pivot and pursue that. And so I think knowing what your why is, having that as something that you can kind of use to guide you, it's almost like a compass, I think that's why it's so important to nail that down. And so I'm going to quickly read off an example of what our why is. It's kind of like a mantra that we tell ourselves and we use, not in this exact wording, but just for the sake of this example. Yeah. So this is what we have. We will achieve financial freedom so that we can retire our mom and help impoverished communities in Guatemala. That's one of our many whys, but that's one of the central ones right now. And so I think every good why, and for example, this why, it needs to be meaningful to you. So for us, that's obviously very meaningful to us. Mm-hmm. It should be connected to your background and experiences. And that way it has some significance to you, because if you don't care about it, when things are hard and, things get pretty hard. There's opportunities. What has been one of the hardest experiences for you in as a real estate investor?
Well, right before we found our first deal, right before we did our first real estate deal, we were supposed to close on a property, and this was going to be a wholesale deal. It ended up coming back with a tax lien of over 15 grand. So our end buyer who we had lined up, he'd already signed everything. Just couldn't make the numbers work. Therefore, we were not going to make the 15 grand that we thought we were going to make. And that in itself was a real test of, how bad do we actually want it?
Yep.
It was literally the universe was like, boom, you're not getting this. You thought you were, but you're not.
Yeah.
So at that point, we had a choice whether to keep going because we were 3 months in, nothing to show for it. Or I don't know, maybe it was like 6 months at that point. Or we keep going, and we did keep going. And a few weeks later, we end up closing our biggest deal that we would do the whole year. So it really was just a test of, how much do you believe in yourself? And it comes down to why you got started in the first place.
Absolutely. And to kind of build off of that, I think it's important for your why to speak to what excites you about real estate and achieving your real estate goals. So why did you even get into it in the first place? For us, I wanted financial freedom for myself and my family. And that was a big motivating factor for me. And that's evident in my why. I want to help retire our mom and help our family in Guatemala, as well as other impoverished communities, because that's where our mom's from. So that's kind of connected to my background. And I think yours doesn't have to be as philanthropic if you don't want it to be. It doesn't have to be as about other people. It can be mainly focused on you. If you want to travel, if you want to write and be just write for fun in your free time and have that liberty. If you want to just spend the rest of your days on the beach in Cancun, you can do that. It doesn't have to be something that's out there. Service is important, and I think that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, and the key is to be as authentic and real as you can. Also, maybe being a little bit more vulnerable, because at the end of the day, the point of the why is so that you can at least have that clear thing in your mind when you do face that obstacle that you are bound to face, because it will get hard, and you need something to remind you why you got started it and why you should keep going.
Yeah, and so there's this debate between, or I guess there's two schools of thought. Why should be attainable, specific and measurable and actionable. And then there's another school of thought that says make it very big and grand to the point that you will never be able to reach it. And I'll kind of explain the logic behind both. So for one, obviously measurable, attainable, specific, you want it to be something that you realistically can reach, because if it's something that you'll never be able to reach, then it could be exhausting.
Yeah.
And what did Alex Ramosi said something about desire is the contract.
Yeah, it was just a quote. I don't remember who he quoted.
You can butcher it.
Desire is a contract you make with yourself that you will remain unhappy until you get what you want. Now, obviously, that sounds like a really bad way to live, but I think in certain cases, if you can apply that principle, then it'll only help you reach whatever you're looking to get.
Yep.
What do you think about it?
So that's one school of thought, right? Like your why should be. I think that's just two ways to look at that. You could say I don't want to be unhappy until I reach my goals. And so if it's something you can reach relatively soon, that's fine. You can also have smaller whys that, for example, we're going to retire our mom before we help a bunch of communities in Guatemala, just understanding that there's kind of stepping stones and levels to your why. And there's also companies that I know Microsoft, I believe, and a lot of other big companies talk about having their mission statement be something they can never really reach, because that'll keep pushing them to be more innovative, to continue to grow, to even progress towards reaching that goal. But evidently they'll never do it. It's something like solving world hunger or improving communication across the world, things like that are very, so I think you can have both. I just wanted to touch on that there's no one right way. I mean, I'm giving you a template just in case you need guidance, but there's no one right way to write your why and to create that, as long as it motivates you and reminds you, especially when things get hard. So chances are you already kind of know what your why is. Like I said, we at the beginning of it, of our real estate journey, we understood we wanted to reach financial freedom. We wanted to help our mom, and we wanted to help impoverished communities in Guatemala. We want to do a lot of things. But that specifically, those were the main core mission. That was the main core mission that we were focused on when we first started, and that initially motivated us. So I think there's a good chance that you maybe want to retire your parents, or maybe you want to spend more time with your kids. Maybe you want to travel to Europe and be able to afford it. Maybe you want to create a legacy. There's just different whys that you probably already understand what that is. It's going to take some reflection.
Yeah.
And even writing it down. I think that'll kind of manifest it.
Yeah, like we said in the beginning, it's the main thing is just to have it out there and that you've already identified what it is. Because if you don't, then when the time comes where you are looking or thinking about quitting, it's going to be that much harder if you don't know what's keeping you going. Because that's when the brain starts to question and you start negotiating with yourself.
Absolutely.
There was do you want Kobe Bryant, or think Yeah, it was Kobe Bryant. He said when he gets on his treadmill, he'll before he gets on, he already understands what he's going to do, maybe like the amount of miles he's going to run, and he doesn't negotiate with himself once he starts. Because I personally can relate to this. When I'm on the treadmill and I'm running, I tell myself I'm going to run at this pace. And then when you're on it halfway, you feel like this is hard. Like I want to stop, and you start making excuses like my knee's hurting. I probably shouldn't go this hard today. I probably shouldn't push myself. But you don't want to negotiate with yourself when you're at that point, when you're going through that. What you want to do is already have that why in place so that when you get to that point, you already have, this is why I got started. I'm not negotiating with myself. I'm going to keep going.
Absolutely. And so I think it's important for us to note that your why can change over time. And I think it in fact should, because if it's not, then you're not really growing unless you pick one of those grandiose whys that you'll never be able to reach. But I still think, like, for example, the first year you start investing, maybe you want to reach a certain goal in income in order to support a certain lifestyle. Once you reach that goal, which ideally if you're moving the needle in your business and real estate, then you should be able to reach in the near future or in sometime in the future. Once that reaches, what's next? Something has to come next, or you're not going to be motivated. And so I think a sign that you're evolving and that you're growing is that your why is changing as well. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree 100%. Like I said, we're going to be able to retire our mom very soon. And once we do that, the next step is something. It's going to be something different. We don't necessarily want to stop growing or stop chasing something. And that's just my perspective.
Yeah.
And I think no one really should, because at that point, I think you get a lot of fulfillment after. I think you get a lot of fulfillment out of trying to achieve your why.
And this is not completely off topic, but a lot of I believe we were listening to the Jay Shetty podcast On Purpose, which we're big fans of. We love that podcast. You should definitely
and his
check
book
it out.
Think Like a Monk.
Yes,
Highly
awesome
recommend
book.
it.
But he talks about, and other people have mentioned that the key to happiness is service, and the more people you serve, the happier you'll be. And I think that we would not be doing a conversation on why we wouldn't be doing it justice if we didn't mention the role service plays in your why. Do you think people should have that in their why?
Well, I think it's something that you don't want to force, because then it's like I feel like a lot of people they might do things just because the type of recognition they'll get from it, or
they think that's what they should do. Like, I should help people.
Yeah, but that's not in my opinion. That's not like the reason. Obviously, you should do it if you want to do it.
Yes.
And if you're not going to do it, just remain authentic to yourself, because it's not like it's going to be any more beneficial to do something that's inauthentic.
If you want the nice cars and the nice house and those fancy trips,
you want,
that's what you want. It's okay.
If you enjoy helping people, obviously we like to serve, we like to help. Yeah. So if that's something that comes natural to you, and having that in your why makes sense, then do that. And I think that's a great why to have, but at the same time, you shouldn't lie to yourself about
your why. Should fuel you and feed you. Our why feeds us, and I think that kind of goes to any time if you're going to give. Why, I think giving to yourself counts.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're serving something.
Exactly. You're serving. Exactly. That's well said. Well said. So, what are some actionable steps? I want to touch on some steps you can take after listening to start identifying your why. We can recite some of the questions we already mentioned. Ask yourself what excites you about real estate specifically. When you think of real estate, what are you aiming? Is it a stepping stone to get to something? Is it the actual practice of investing in real estate itself? Maybe you just really love real estate, and your why is to build as big of a real estate company you can, so you can serve as many residents in your properties as you can, or build as many great relationships in terms of general partnerships as you can. It just really depends, and the more specific you can get right now, especially if you're first starting, I think that's important. Of course, once you reach a certain point,
I have an example of a why really quickly, and how it could relate to real estate.
Good.
So there's a podcast I listen to, and I've spoken about this before, so I'll just quickly go over it. But there's a lady who started real estate investing because she had a daughter who was she was addicted to drugs. Yeah. So what she ended up doing was having all of these self-care, or what were they called, rehab centers, is what she created, and that is obviously was producing a lot of cash flow, a lot of income from it. But she was making it her why. Her intention was to make these the absolute best rehab centers for any person that walks into the doors. So her why was obviously came from her having her own experience with her daughter and having that pain of having to go through getting over drug addiction. But now she was able to help the communities that she was actually investing in. And this is exactly what we mean by your why can actually be within your career. And I think that's where you get the most fulfillment, is when it actually does align and you're serving people. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, she was helping lots of people recover from something like this. And obviously that's going to help them. And in exchange, she's kind of more fulfilled from it.
Absolutely. So if you guys like this video, let us know down in the comment section below. We would love to know, what is your why? If you know what that is, we would love to hear it. Please like, subscribe to our channel, and let us know what your feedback is. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we're really excited to continue to bring you guys value. So if you have any other ideas of topics you'd like us to discuss, please share that. Jeffrey, where can people go to find us?
You can find all three of us at Donis Brothers on all platforms, and then you can find me at Jeffrey Donis on all platforms, and you can find Kerwin at
Donis Kerwin on Instagram, and www.donisinvestmentgroup.com/playbook. You can go there to find the 5 common mistakes investors make. And
check out our podcast also, the Real Estate Monopoly podcast, if you're interested in learning more about multifamily.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We appreciate it. We hope you guys got a lot of value. Let's get out there and take action.